Welcome to the TebZAR Podcast, a light-hearted yet deeply reflective space where we humanize high achievers through informative conversations. And we serve this with a hefty side of wit and laughter. I'm TebZAR by day. I'm a chartered accountant using insight to hunt for opportunities for our clients. And by night, I'm the man behind the mic drawing out stories and lessons from South Africa's most exemplary voices in business, media, sports, and the arts. If you feel like life has got you underwater and you're drowning, and you're wondering how others are swimming, this is the podcast to watch. On today's podcast, we have Lerato Ngomane, a registered psychological counsellor. Welcome, Lerato. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, TebZAR. Thank you for having me here.
Fantastic.
I'm excited.
How are you feeling today?
I am feeling excited, as I'm saying, because I think today we're touching on a very exciting yet interesting topic, something I'm very passionate about. So being able to have this conversation with you is something I'm excited about.
Fantastic. I think we take mental health lightly. Mm-hmm. After I did a bit of research on mental health, I actually realized what a broad subject it was. And it's a subject that affects us in many ways that we are unaware of. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping in today's podcast, we'll, take it on a very educational perspective, just clarify, what everybody needs to know about mental health. And why it's important to be cognizant for our well-being. As you know that life is very demanding. Mm-hmm. Why is it that we have to be cognizant of it at all points in time? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So question we ask our podcast guests: what fulfills Lerato Ngomane?
What fulfills me is directly linked to what I do for a living. Being able to help people with their mental health. Just to take you maybe a little into my world. So how I grew up in a small town in Pola location, a small town outside of Witbank. And that's where I discovered that many of our young people that, were my peers at that time, had so much potential. But because it's such a small location, there isn't much opportunities. There's just a lot of things that make you feel like this is it. There's no other thing that is outside of where we are coming from. The opportunities that I'm talking about that my peers had, they could not actualize them. And that's one of the things that, used to bother me, and I wanted to help. Although I didn't know at the time what that help looked like, but years later, I found myself in the psychology field, where I am working in that psychology field and helping people with their mental health, helping them to find perspective, to find hope, and to be able to break free from their backgrounds or whatever they're coming from, to be able to become who they wanted to be. So being able to do that on a day-to-day basis is what fulfills me. I enjoy being able to sit with someone who came in a hopeless situation. They came in feeling broken almost, but being able then to talk through things, giving them that space to talk, mm-hmm. and them leaving that session or that room feeling hopeful, feeling excited about their life. That's what really, really fulfills me and gives me joy.
Fantastic. Do you find that people actually out of their own volition come to seek help, or do they generally just wait until things are really bad?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I think I love to have these kind of conversations where we do talk about that most of the time what I'm finding in this space is that people only come when the situation is dire, where they are already maybe having even physical symptoms where maybe they are unable to sleep, maybe it's showing up in their health, hypertension, diabetes, and only to find out when you peel the layers, you find out that it's actually linked to their mental health. So finding someone, people come in that situation at the end of which That's what I want to prevent, or that's one of the things that I want to encourage people to do, to be able to come before it actually gets to a point where someone is already having chronic illnesses or being in a place where they feel like they're hopeless. So yeah, that's what happens.
There's this thing when you turn 40, people say life starts at 40. But I think what I've came to find out, it's kind of like a dark joke because, turning over 40, you start experiencing quite a lot of, health issues. You lose, for instance, your body mass. Now in the gym, you have to do weights, just to keep your balance intact. Your sleeping patterns do change as well. So are you saying those sleeping patterns could be as a result of pressures on mental health that manifest themselves in these changed sleeping patterns?
100%, definitely. That's one of the things that really play a role in that. Listen, I can't say 100%. Everyone that's in their 40s, listen to me, guys. Don't come for me. I'm not saying that everyone in their 40s.
We're losing sleep.
You're losing sleep because of mental health issues. But I do find that it's prominent in terms of the built-up. Over the years, you're going through life in your 20s, there's pressures that you're experiencing, but you never take the time to process it. You never take the time to speak about it. You try to be strong, as our society always encourages us to do, to have a brave face, keep the game going, be able to show up and work. But the thing is, we are experiencing things on a day-to-day basis, and those things demand to be felt, unfortunately. So us ignoring it and keeping it inside, or repressing our emotions rather, then it shows up in our bodies. Then you find people in their 40s now or in their 50s finding out that, sure, I'm starting to struggle with sleep. I'm starting I go to the doctor, and for the first time discovering that I've got high blood. How do I have high blood? Doesn't make sense. But then you realize that it's the pressures that an individual has been experiencing throughout the years that have now built up to affecting them physically, where your body now demands you to pause and actually do something about it.
Yeah. And the effect of trauma, trauma that's not dealt with in maybe the former, years of your life. That trauma, if it's not dealt with, and you maybe experience, a cascade of other traumas because life is busy while you're dealing with this trauma, another trauma happens, and you forget to go back and reset. That build-up, if unaddressed, how does it actually manifest itself into mental health issues in the long run?
I think it's exactly what I just said now, touching on the whole pain demands to be felt, unfortunately. You go through a traumatic experience. It's a traumatic experience. You feeling pain, you've gone through something that is a shock to your system. However, because of life and the pressures of society, rather than you dealing with it, you decide to say, I'm going to be strong. Right? And even in our cultures, in our families, they will even applaud you for being strong. Oh, wow, you went through losing your mom and you didn't cry. Wow, you're strong.
They make it sound like an achievement.
That's an achievement. That's a good thing. That, wow, there's a badge of honor. You are very strong. And yeah, that continues on where you've gone through a traumatic experience, like I'm saying. There's pain, there's shock to the system, but you're not addressing it, and you choosing to be strong. However, then it does show up, and it shows up in a way years later where, like I'm saying, your body then demands you to take a pause. And how does that manifest? It's you now just feeling hopeless, feeling sad. All of a sudden, you start not being interested in the things that you used to be interested in. You're struggling with sleep. Now you are just a person who is feeling stuck in your circumstances, and that can, in a way, halt you from even moving forward, stop you and keep you in a place where you feel like you can't move forward. So that's then you go to the doctor and you find out that you've got depression or you've got anxiety, because it's things that you've been experiencing but you did not necessarily deal with them, and then now they're manifesting physically, also emotionally. Like I said, the sadness, the profound sadness, the hopelessness, the sleeplessness, and you feeling anxious and all of that. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you mentioned the culture of toxic resilience, and I think we glorify that quite a lot. I know a lot of ladies do not like to be referred to as imbogoto lately, because imbogoto is supposed to be a symbol of strength. Somebody who, no matter what happens, has to keep the torch on and just carry on with their lives. This imbogoto notion, is it something that needs to be revisited? Because it might just border on the culture of toxic resilience.
So that's the difference between our generation and the generation before us, right? Where the imbogoto statement comes from our mothers, where they were holding the fort, going through things and still showing up, still being present for us as their kids. But like I'm saying, then if you can look at even your life, TebZAR, and think about your aunts, your grandmother, most of them, it's either they had high blood or they died because of diabetes or all of these sicknesses. But when you find out and when you peel the layer, what was the cause of that, then you find out it's years of them being in Bogoto and holding on to, whatever pain they are going through, keeping it inside because, it's not something that we speak about. It's glorified for you to be strong at that moment. Then comes our generation that says, no, we are not going to do that.
Yeah.
We want to be soft. Sifuna ukuba maqanda. Like, please, I can't. I want to tell you right now that I'm soft.
Scrambled.
We don't want to be that strong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, one thing that I have realized that with this generation or the younger generation now is that then they struggle with resilience. In my field, with the different clients that I've seen, or the different individuals that come into my space, especially the younger ones, you'll hear them speaking about anxiety. And it's a child that's 13 years old, and already they're speaking about them being anxious and all of that. And yes, we can allude it to the fact that now the conversation is normalized. And maybe the older generations, they were experiencing that, but they were not speaking about it. But however, there is also an element of, because of how soft life is now and how much we shield our kids now, they do miss that element of resilience, whereby now everything seems to break them or make them feel like they can't necessarily cope.
Yeah. No, a colleague of mine, I think she's in the early 30s, she's trying to date. And she said, the guy that's asking her out was struggling calculating 10% of the bill. And I think that made her cranky. I'm gonna try to speak on behalf of that guy and say, it's not the 10% that gives the anxiety. It's adding the 10% on top of the bill. And if you get it wrong, there goes your chances of a second date. But her crankiness or sensitivity to small things, could that also be an indication of mental health issues, or is just a preference that, I don't want to deal with somebody whose, numerics are base are not in order?
I think it's a preference thing, and I think it's a society thing. Remember, right now, there's a rise of social media, and I think that's the crux of what our generation is dealing with. Right? You wake up in the morning, immediately you see that Sarah from next door got a big bouquet of flowers. And now you're comparing your life and you're like, why doesn't Sipho buy me a a huge bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
There was this trend not so long ago where flowers, you put 100 Rand notes.
Yeah,
And that was the thing, right?
Yeah.
And everyone wanted to be to get that bouquet.
That's true.
Those are the pressures. I think it's the thing of, we can't ignore the pressures of social media and how it plays a role in our lives as the young people, but also plays a role in our mental health. Because, things that didn't bother our parents now bother us. I like to speak about, back in the day when we were young, you would see once in a while next door, there's a Joshua Door truck coming in to deliver sofas, and your mom would be touched, just for a little while. They bought sofas, that's nice, and touched a little while, but she will quickly get over it. And be content in whatever she has, and we keep it moving. We keep going. However, now, like I'm saying, we wake up in the morning, literally in the morning, you switch on your phone and there's someone who's doing this, someone who's doing that. Literally everyone is posting their highlights on social media, which does affect us. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. You're so right, because, people's posts are always positive. People post like they're attending functions every day.
Highlight reels.
And that's not practical, because life is very demanding. Highlights are there because there's an event. But not everybody goes to an event every day. So what you see on the screen is just events. People are on a high, and you just have 4 bad weeks, and all of a sudden you easily morphed into depression. So. I think it's an important point that you raise. How can we, look at social media maybe with an informed lens, such that those moments actually become points of inspiration, as opposed to, the pressure to compete?
Yeah, I definitely think being honest with yourself and being able to reflect and be self-aware. I think that because of life and us being on the chase, we're going through life. You hardly take the time to sit down and actually think that, where am I going? Who am I? Why am I on this earth? Am I doing what, I love? Am I doing what fulfills me? And you being able to do that, right, is you then being able to say that I'm not going to be affected by a post of someone who, just posted their highlight reel, because I know who I am. I know where I'm going, and I'm working on it. Yes, there's this vision that I have. I'm studying. I'm at work. I'm doing something during the weekends to work towards my goal. So when you are able to do those, check-ins with yourself, those reflections with yourself, being able to be self-aware, you are able then now to not be necessarily affected by social media. In the same breath, being honest with yourself to an extent to say that there is a certain page, when I look at this page, I get triggered, or I get envious. That's honesty. And mind you, it's a human emotion. All of us experience jealousy. As much as, we frown upon it and we say, don't be jealous. We all experience it. And you have to be honest with yourself that as you are going through your pages, what pages actually evoke those kind of emotions. So taking the time to reflect and taking the time to introspect is when you realize, okay, there's certain pages that I don't necessarily have to follow. I don't necessarily have to have as one of my followers because they trigger something in me, and being able then to have only the ones that motivate you, that when I look at these pages, I'm motivated, I'm inspired, I do want to work hard. So it all goes back to having that time to reflect, having that time to self-introspect, having the time to be self-aware and be honest with yourself.
So well said, Lerato. You actually want to make me share a personal anecdote. I'd been very cognizant growing up that, my, left side of the brain was very strong. But also the right side of the brain was also very strong. And one of the things is when I decided to actually follow the chartered accountancy route, was that I found myself operating in a space where I was comfortable. It felt I could maximize, for instance, my marks without parting with an arm and a leg. And at that point, I just knew that my purpose in life has to be aligned with what comes easy to me, so that I don't feel like I'm swimming upstream all the time. Had I chose a career simply because it was the in thing at that point in time, I don't think, looking back over the years, I would have been in a position where I could say have been really fulfilled. I've pitched up every day to work, and I have given all that I have, and the career success that one attained over a long period of time was really powered by one feeling that this is my natural space. The things that I use every day, I didn't have to go to school to learn these things. I went to school in order to enhance what I'm doing. And a lot of people then said, but look, on the creative side as well, you should explore that. And then later in my life, I said, look, after COVID, I'm going to be a comedian. And let's explore this side. And one of the things I found is, as human beings, we do things, we get fulfilled, but we quickly ask ourselves what else to do after you've done that. And this journey as well, sitting here with you, meeting people like you, is just as fulfilling as my daily work. And that feels like one is an empowered native. And you can't help but say, look, I want to be on the screen. I want to meet as many people as possible, because I intrinsically feel that I've got something of value to share with people that I come across. So when you talk about, what exactly do I want? It's a very difficult question to answer. If your reference point is always looking at the next person, looking at what your parents liked, what your parents prodded you over the years to follow. But when you sit and say, look, you know what, maybe actually I just want to be a speaker and travel the world, and that answer rattles you, let alone it might rattle your partner, it might rattle your other stakeholders. That is the point that people need to be brave, because that is literally their liberation stance. And I'm happy I went that route, because I feel like I'm learning, yet at the same time being fulfilled. And that argues very well for one's mental health. So I'm happy that you married the two. But one of the things that you see with other fellow colleagues who are in the workplace just to survive, they're literally operating on very small percentages of their battery. As much effort that they put in, they're never really going to hit the ceiling, because they're just forever swimming upstream. These work pressures that we have, how do they also contribute? Because the workplace is cutthroat. We're part of a global economy. We have to compete. And there's no way we can compete if you're not operating in the space that you're supposed to operate in. And then secondly, you're not also going to compete if other people are operating in their space and they come to work and they give every single thing that they have. What's been your experience with people who, don't enjoy their work and are just really floating along, not answering what they want? And how does that manifest into mental health issues?
Sure, that's a big one. And I think that's one of the biggest topics right now, where everyone is saying, my workplace is toxic. I can't wait to leave this place. And then you realize that it's that whole, are you doing what you enjoy? Are you doing something that fulfills you? Listen, I'll be honest. We are living in South Africa. We are living in this economy. Not everyone is going to have that privilege of being in a job that fulfills them, a job, that speaks to their why. Maybe you are in that company for a while because you are trying to find your feet, you're trying to find what speaks to you. And I think one of the things that I can say that it's a reality, it's true, it's happening, but because I've been in those situations where I was not working in the psychology field and I had to take the first job that, came about. One of the things that we speak about even with my colleagues now is that you need to find pockets of joy, even within the environment that maybe you feel like is not your calling. But at the end of the day, right now, it makes sense for your steps to becoming who you want to be, or to get into a place where you get where you need to be, right? But what are these pockets of joy now? Now we're talking about the mental health, you being able to find, what do I enjoy? What can I still do during the weekend, to maybe
uplift your mood,
to uplift my mood, to be able to meet my left side of the brain, the creativity part. Maybe your job requires you to be working with numbers. Maybe it's your job requires you to be formal, but you do have the side of you. Maybe it's a creative side. So how do you then prioritize to do that during the weekends? Those are the pockets of joy that you can do for yourself, to still do something that does fulfill you, while you are still maybe in your 9 to 5. I think that's one thing that I can say.
Lerato, I like what you said there. I would also advise you to live on both sides of your brain, so that you feel like you're a complete human, and that will give you a lot of satisfaction. If you look at the profile of a South African in their 25s to 45s, we deal with a lot, extended family responsibilities, your time to do creative work. Next thing, you must attend the funeral. Next thing, you must be visiting somebody in hospital because they've got mental health issue. We're not really taking charge of our calendar to say, this is my sacred space, and I will have to make trade-offs as much as, I'm expected to do certain things by virtue of my role. But I cannot perpetuate that cycle for the longest time. I need to own my mental health. I need to own my space of joy. And we don't block that, such that we let people know that, this is my happy time, and this is how I spend it. And please don't take any offense because I'm taking charge of my well-being. We do very little of that. What sort of small resets can we do? You've spoken about that one. You've also spoken about identifying pockets of joy in the workplace. What else can we do practically to say, this is the third thing I'll explore in order to take charge of my mental health?
It's exactly what you said. I love what you said when you spoke about it's your sacred time. What does your sacred time mean? It means that now you have to be intentional. It's important to you. It's important to your mental health. First and foremost, you have to come from that stance so that you are not shifted or guilted into, but you didn't attend this funeral, but you didn't do this and that. But because you understand that when I do this certain thing, it is helping me fill up my cup. It is helping my mental health. It is a sacred time for me to be able to recharge so that I can show up better for you. So that's one of the things that I want to say as you start to discover what are the other pockets of joy. But there are a lot of things that, TebZAR, you can do to help you with your mental health or finding those pockets of joy. There's walking. It's a therapeutic tool. Just being able to get out of your house and being able to walk 5 kilometers and discover new houses that you've never seen before, discover new trees that you've never seen before. That act alone, it clears your mind. It helps you to think, be alone with your thoughts. How often do we do that? How often are we alone with our thoughts? Because we are in the hustle and bustle. We are communicating with people. But when you're walking, you're able now for the first time to say, hey, hi, Lerato. Where are you? How do you feel? How was this week for you? You know, are you okay? What do you need if you're not okay? So walking can provide you with that, you know. And if maybe, let's say you're an active person, being able to go to the gym, or being able to do exercises, you know, we are privileged that we are living in a technology driven kind of a place or world right now that you can actually switch on the phone, switch on the YouTube channel and being able to do those exercises. That is also a therapeutic tool. But another one that I really, really love is journaling.
Journaling,
yes, being able to journal. So being able to, going back to what we spoke about, the reflecting. So reflecting is not only you having a conversation with your therapist or having a conversation with your friend, but it's also you being able to release those emotions while you're writing down. And you'll discover that when you're writing, you discover things that you were not really thinking that I feel that way. Now all of a sudden you're writing, I'm disappointed. You're like, wow, I didn't know that I was disappointed. I thought I was sad. But now you're discovering these things because you are actually taking the time to reflect, to you having the time to process and being, you know, being able to release those emotions or those experiences that you've experienced. So I really love journaling. I think it's a very good therapeutic tool.
You know, my friends, when I told them I'm journaling, that's nerdy. That's nerdy things. But like you said, it's a therapeutic release. You know, you literally scramble and you realize how unscrambled a mess you are. And that realization that, I need to get things in order can happen on a piece of paper because the risk sometimes of a conversation or confiding in somebody is that they interject, you know. So the conversation can start this way with this intention, but it can easily then just diverge because of how the conversation flows. But when you journal, it's a level of accountability that makes you embarrassed at first, but you only realize the value subsequently when you come back and say, no wonder people are relating to me like this. I'm just a mess.
I'm people pleasing.
I'm people pleasing.
Yes, you discover these things as you journal.
So you get nuggets of epiphanies through that journaling process. You know, my release, I play table tennis. I enjoy table tennis. It's not too, you know, hard on the body. If you generally work in high pressure environments, you don't even have energy on the weekends to gym. So you want to find an activity that allows you to move around without being too intense, so that your recovery process is not prolonged, because Monday, again, it's high speed. Here we go. So I enjoy that. And it's one activity. You know, when you look at it, you know, it's literally people say, man, table tennis, what do you enjoy? But there's a very subtle release of energy, you know, subtle heat buildup, you know, in your body, releases, you know, whatever chemicals, you know, hormones, you know, related to happiness. And that really, really empowers me. And you find that type of activity, you also start, you know, connecting with people on a social level.
True.
Because the higher as you go up the corporate ladder, your social circle reduces, because most of your time is committed to your career. So I enjoy you mention things that we don't need to spend a lot of money to make us well. Take a walk. And this is the reason why even after COVID, hiking, everybody was hiking. It was a craze. But people needed to be out so they can have oxygen just going through their bodies. I'm very happy with that.
Same.
The state of the economy, it makes people worried. On TV, there's a bombardment of negative news. My daughter sat with me and she asked me, why do you watch the news? And I said, I want to be informed. And she says, and then what happens when you're informed? I couldn't answer her at that time. And I asked her, why do you watch this? She says, I don't, because I feel depressed. It's always bad things. Now, it might appear as a responsible thing to do. I want to stay informed. But the flip side is that you are, again, just consuming negative. And it puts you in a position that might contribute negatively to your mental health. One of the things is we have to be intentional with the type of media we consume.
100%.
The type of friendships we keep.
100%.
Because any interaction, you don't walk away neutral. It's either you're re-energized or you're not.
Or you depleted.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that I could chip in to say, these will help us, get to a point where we're just more cognizant of our mental health. The news is always not a good thing, just to stay informed. Yeah.
See, your daughter is very self-aware. She's very self-aware. For her to be able to make that distinction of, I don't want to watch the news because when I watch the news, I feel depressed. It's not a normal thing that everyone does. You'll find that people continue to watch the news. They wonder, why do I feel depressed? But they never make the connection of it's because of what I'm watching or it's because of what the conversations I'm having with these people. So going back to what I said, the whole, having that moment of reflecting, of self-awareness, of introspecting, and to realize and to make those connections that I actually feel more depressed when I do this. I feel actually more anxious when I do this. And when you are able to do that, what a simple thing to be able to stop that thing. And now you're no longer experiencing those emotions. Yeah.
These workplace programs, employee wellness, what's your experience? Do they really work? Is it just lip service? Is the way to measure, outcomes in a way we can conclusively say, if we were to conduct a happiness index in the workplace, the results would be positive. Yeah, so I'd like your thoughts on that. And if there are gaps, so how do you improve that?
I'll definitely say that I'm happy that it has started, because that's a conversation that I was really passionate about, earlier in the years, that I would ask myself, why do certain institutions not have a psychologist, a therapist, someone that the employees can go and speak to? And then there was the rise of the employee wellness. As you've seen, that there's been a lot of companies now that do actually take on EAP as a provider to have, psychologists or therapists seeing the employees and being able to help them through their everyday life or their stresses that they're experiencing. So first and foremost, I'm happy with that, because now you don't really have an excuse. Whereas before, you would be like, where do I even start? Okay, I hear that, you're saying that therapy is important, but okay, who do I call? But now your company actually has a program or a service where they're saying that, guys, you just call this number, you'll have someone who's going to assist you or someone who's going to give you that space. I think with everything, as much as this is a good thing, I really do feel that it's a positive for me. But definitely there are gaps. There's the negative side of these programs as well, where managers sometimes maybe might misuse these services to maybe find out certain things about the employees and use it against them, and that's what we're trying to prevent. But I think the effort is a positive thing.
Yeah.
To be able to help employees to have that space where
Yeah.
they're not just seen as employees, but they're seen as a human being holistically.
You're right, Lerato. On a bad day, if I found out, I'd be like, I knew it. Or when I knew it. There were signs, they were all there.
Yeah.
But those programs shouldn't be about that. Wellness affects productivity. So it makes sense and should be in the interest of business to make sure that employees are well. And these programs, although they're seen as nice necessities, or maybe, they're not necessities per se. Maybe they're seen as luxury things. Small business actually also needs this, because in a small business, if there's 5 of you and one is not well, the impact on your productivity is so instant. And I think we should get to a point where this is normalized, even as part of employee incentives. And in mature environments, it's actually people are incentivized to visit psychologists to gain points, because sometimes we're just not aware that we've got mental health issues and how they restrict our productivity in the workplace. Yeah.
100%.
We've got an employment problem in the country. The youth are not working. By world standards, it's actually very severe. What's the risk going forward? If I were president today, what should I worry about? Where you've got youth who are not employed for constant periods of time. What will that cause for us tomorrow in the country? And I think we should be cognizant of that, so that when it happens, we can't act surprised. One of the things I can think of is the level of alcohol consumption. Per capita, we're right at the top consumers in the world.
Exactly.
As far as beverages are concerned. That's one of the problems. There's crime as well. That's one of the problems. And the health of a country should obviously be viewed from an aggregated point of view, to say how well are our citizens. As it stands, we've got far too many people not working, and the social problems that it has caused. Do you have anything to share on that front with your personal experiences?
Yes. Definitely, I think unemployment really does affect a lot of our mental health. Just you being unable to make ends meet. Listen, like I said, we're living in South Africa. The economy is bad. So you need to be affording at least, the bare minimum. And if the way that the economy is, at the rate the economy is going, then how does one, stay for prolonged periods being unemployed, being unable to buy bread, and that's when then you find people trying to cope. But now they're not using even the healthy coping mechanisms or the healthy coping strategies, but they're using, alcohol, as you've mentioned. How do I numb this pain of the fact that I just graduated, I've studied, I thought that immediately as I'm done with my honors or I'm done with my master's, I'll be able to make a difference, to bring something in the household, to help my family get out of this poverty-stricken community. But now I'm unable to do that. There's no jobs. Therefore, how do I escape that pain? Let me drink, because it's easy, it's accessible. I could even argue to say that it's more affordable, to buy alcohol rather than to go to see a therapist. So you would choose to let me drink, let me engage in something that a quick fix, anything that can help me. And then you'll find there's a rise of gambling now. People saying that, let me just quickly go put in 10 rand there. Maybe, today's my lucky day. Maybe my life is going to change today because of maybe doing this gambling, and then I am able to change the situation at home. So these are all coping mechanisms, but they're unhealthy, because in the long run, then it affects the entire family. Now there's a rise of GBV because someone is drinking a lot. They are frustrated, they are angry, they get home, they beat the wife, they beat the kids because they are frustrated. So that's why South Africa is one of those countries that one of the things that is prevalent is your GBV, it's the alcohol consumption, it's the crime, because other people also, what they would say that to get out of this situation, let me go steal, let me go, get a quick fix somewhere to help the situation because I'm desperate. I'm desperate, and there's no other options than for me to actually do something about it. So those are the things that we continue to see. And if it doesn't change, can you just imagine in the next 10 years what's going to happen to South Africa?
And success stories that you've come across, people who actively sought help, committed to their sessions with their psychologists. Can you share some success stories? And why, when you feel hopeless and you constantly battling anxiety, why it's important to take that step and say, I'm going to go to a psychologist. If you could share on that, because who knows, I might be in need of a psychologist, given the challenges that I face on a daily basis. We just want people to get to a point where they say, I need a psychologist. Let me start the process.
I'll make an example of myself because I think I've had quite fair of experiencing unemployment. And one of the things that has kept me and can keep someone who is saying that I'm unemployed, I've studied, I am educated, like Mandela said, let's education first. Let's make sure that we're educated. But now there's no jobs. I'm a doctor, but I do not have a job. It's to remember your why. And that's one of the things that, I think played a role in how I overcame the mental health issues that I experienced while I was unemployed. Because then it said to me that I'm not necessarily looking at the paycheck. I'm not necessarily looking for anyone to employ me at this point, but I need to make sure that what I'm doing, the why, is it still there? So I had to remember that. I had to remind myself of that, TebZAR. Why did I even study psychology? Why did I even start this journey? And that's when I began then to start community projects from where I came from. Brought some girls together.
Yes.
And we spoke about, sex. We would talk about, the things that they're experiencing at home. And that gave me so much fulfillment. Yes, I was not getting paid for it, but, I enjoyed it. I was able to make that impact, and I felt that I made that impact. And you will be surprised that once you do that, you've remembered your why, right? You have, are going back to your fulfillment. Then people start noticing. Then your potential employer starts, people are recognizing that, oh, there's a Lerato in Pola that, does this kind of work. Yes. So that's what I would say to anyone who's watching, who's maybe in that situation where they're unemployed. Remember your why. Remember why you even started. And it doesn't have to end in a paycheck right now. You can do something, don't be idle, find something to do. Because yes, maybe you are not getting the paycheck at the end of the day, but the fulfillment will keep you. in that season of unemployment.
To drive you forward.
It'll drive you forward.
Fantastic. In closing, Lerato, this has been very educational and very encouraging as well. People who are despairing and constantly worried about outcomes, why should they trust the process and worry more about the process as opposed to outcomes?
Sure. I would definitely say that there's beauty in the process more than the outcome. Because the process is where you actually grow.
It's the journey.
It's the journey.
Yes.
It's what you are becoming as you are going to your expected end, right? Because maybe when you started, yes, you wanted to be a chartered accountant. But, what kind of chartered accountant would you be when you're 21 years old, coming maybe from an environment that you come from? But the journey or the process, develops so much in you. Maybe there's resilience that you gain as a result of having to wait. Maybe, there's patience that you learn as a result of waiting for so long and without having any way forward, going forward. I'll tell you something personal that one of the things that I discovered in the process that I'm so grateful for is before I used to think you just study, you make sure that you concentrate in school and things are going to work out for you. But then you realize that it's not necessarily, the case all the time. And you will get to a place where you are humbled. You have your degree, you have your master's, you have your doctorate, but you do not have employment. That's where the grace of God, I would say, comes in, where you realize that you're not where you are by your own doing, and you're not going to get where you want to go by your own doing. Yes, there's things that you can do also, but there's also an element of you trusting in something, that can propel you to get to where you are. So the journey is you realizing these things and understanding that there's a process in becoming who I'm meant to be or I'm supposed to be.
And maybe we need to challenge the definition of success. If you tie it to material things, a big car, a big house, in a gated community, travel around the world, you are likely to be depressed. If you were to view success as you making sure that my process, I'm doing all that I can, to make this journey enjoyable, to make it meaningful, the chances are the success will come anyway. But if we couple it with material things, you get a big car, you want a bigger car. You get a big house, you want a bigger house. And we'll never reach fulfillment, and that will forever be a challenge to your mental health. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this very much. Guys, please, Lerato is on LinkedIn. She's got a couple of very nice pieces that she's written. Pieces will also be on our website. If you have questions, please log on to our website, subscribe, read her blog posts, and let's get talking so that we uplift our mental health status collectively, as young people trying to find our place and our purpose in society. Thank you for watching. Until next time. Bye.